Are there any wrestling families in WWE where both father and son have held championship gold for the promotion? That's from Brett Richardson. There are indeed. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, and his son Curtis Axel are both former Intercontinental Champions. Axel also held the WWE Tag Team titles with David Otunga. The vast Anoa'i clan have several father-son combinations that have held gold in WWE. Afra and Samu are both WWE Tag Team Champions, as are Rikishi and the Usos. Rikishi also held the IC belt during his run with the promotion. Sika and Rosie held the tag titles too. Sika's other son, Roman Reigns, has several championships under his belt, including the WWE title and Universal Championship. Rocky Johnson was a tag champion with Soul Patrol partner Tony Atlas in 1983. His son, The Rock, fared considerably better, capturing 10 world titles and several secondary straps throughout his legendary career. Blackjack Mulligan and Barry Windham both held WWE Tag Team Gold. Bray Wyatt, the son of Windham's US Express partner Mike Rotunda, is a former WWE champion. Rotunda's Money Inc. tag title winning partner Ted DiBiase also produced a title-winning offspring in Ted DiBiase Jr., who was a two-time tag title holder with fellow second-generation star Cody Rhodes. Stan Stasiak was an early WWE champion, but his son Sean Stasiak was only able to find title success in the company's hardcore division, where he was a 15-time hardcore champion. British great Davey Boy Smith held the Intercontinental title, the European Championship, and the tag team titles on several occasions. His son David Hart Smith, Harry Smith or Davey Boy Smith Jr., wore the tag straps twice with the Hart Dynasty partner Tyson Kidd. Somewhat unusually, Chavo Guerrero Jr. held the Cruiserweight title years before his father Chavo Classic captured the same belt in 2004. And finally, WWE Chief Vince McMahon preposterously wore the WWE Championship and the ECW Championship, while son Shane McMahon had a stint as European Champion in 1999. I've really enjoyed the last match questions that have appeared in the mag recently. Can you answer another? What were the final matches of the following? Hulk Hogan, Ahmed Johnson, Lex Luger, Arn Anderson, and the Big Boss Man. That's from Chris Sweeney. Happy to oblige. Hogan teamed with James Storm and Sting to defeat Bobby Roode, Bully Ray, and Kurt Angle in the main event of TNA's January 27, 2012 house show at the MEN Arena in Manchester. Hogan was in bad shape, doing very little and wrestling in tracksuit bottoms and a bandana. Interesting fact, all 5 men in the match, other than Hogan, went on to wrestle at least one match under the WWE banner after this. Hogan's final match for WWE was at SummerSlam 06, where he beat Randy Orton. Lex Luger's last match on record was teaming with Buff Bagwell against Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner in the main event of a UFW 2006 card on October 26, 2006 in Oklahoma. The promotion has since gone out of business. Perhaps that's no surprise given the group was paying homage to Herb Abrams' infamous Universal Wrestling Federation, one of the biggest wrestling promotion flops the business has ever seen. Luger's final mainstream appearance was for TNA on November 12, 2003, teaming with Jeff Jarrett against Sting and AJ Styles. He has since been confined to a wheelchair and will never wrestle again. Ahmed Johnson hung up his wrestling boots after a win over former world-class star Action Jackson on a PCW card held on November 8, 2003 in Arlington, Texas. Johnson's mainstream career ended in 2000 when he, as Big T, and Stevie Ray lost a three-way tag match on a WCW house show to the Harris Brothers and Misfits in Action. At one point in his career, the muscular Johnson looked to be a surefire bet to become WWE champion until injuries and politics ruined his chances. By the end of his career, Johnson had thrown in the towel, with his chiseled physique giving way to his super heavyweight gut. Arn Anderson wrestled twice after his emotional 1997 retirement, losing to David Flair on WCW Thunder in May 2000, then teaming with Four Horsemen cohort Ric Flair to defeat David Flair and Crowbar on the following week's episode of the show. The combined running time of the two bouts was under 4 minutes, with Anderson barely breaking a sweat. Anderson's last proper outing was teaming with Steve Mongo McMichael to defeat the amazing French Canadians, Jacques Rougeau and the man known today as PCO, on the January 27, 1997 episode of Nitro. The Big Boss Man wrestled for the last time just 3 weeks before his death, putting over Jim Duggan on an IWA Japan show in Tokyo on August 31, 2004. The 3-minute match was a tournament final to determine the new IWA World Heavyweight Champion. Bossman pulled double duty that night, besting Freddy Krueger, Doug Gilbert, earlier in the tournament. Bossman had wrestled for WWE just 2 years beforehand, with his final appearance coming in a May 2002 defeat to Tommy Dreamer on Sunday Night Heat. Can you list the results of the first Progress chapter and give your opinions on whether the matches were any good? That's from Laura Halfpenny. Certainly. Held on March 25th, 2012 in front of just over 300 fans at the Garage in Islington, Progress Chapter 1 in the beginning played host to an 8-man title tournament to crown the first Progress champion. In the opening match, El Ligero pinned Noam Dar with his C4L DDT in a solid outing. Nathan Cruz beat super heavyweight Colossus Kennedy after a dropkick in a reasonable effort. Mike Mason subbed for RJ Singh, felled Colt Cabana Banner in a fair scrap after knocking him out with a dog chain. Marty Scurll pinned Zack Sabre Jr. in a 20-minute cracker. Looking back now, it's easy to see why both men became such major players on the international stage. Xander Cooper dropped Darrell Anderson and Zach Gibson in a reasonable non-tournament three-way. Nathan Cruz overcame Marty Scurll, El Ligero and Mike Mason in an entertaining four-way elimination match to become the first Progress champion. Actually, for his efforts, Cruz was awarded a staff with an eagle headpiece derived from the Progress logo, which unfortunately looked like a piece of Nazi war memorabilia. Progress eventually changed to a traditional title belt in late 2014. I recently saw that actor David Arquette wrestled on an independent show, with reports describing him as a former WCW World Champion. Surely this cannot be true. That's from Phil Lidster. I'm afraid that it is true. You can thank or blame Vince Russo for that one. Arquette's WCW association came about after he played the role of a wrestling superfan, Geordie Boggs, in NAF WCW tie-in flick Ready to Rumble. Russo felt that bringing in Arquette, who had a degree of minor celebrity at the time for his appearances in the popular Scream franchise and for marrying Friends star Courtney Cox, would generate mainstream interest in WCW's flagging product, just as Dennis Rodman and Jay Leno had done in previous years. The difference was Rodman and Leno were both genuine stars. Arquette was not. Had Arquette's appearances been limited to the odd gimmick match, his involvement might have been forgivable. Russo, however, had grander plans. He wanted to shock the world, his favourite method of booking, by putting the WCW World title on Arquette. Arquette won the gold in a farcical manner on April 26, 2000, teaming with champion Diamond Dallas Page to defeat Jeff Jarrett and Eric Bischoff in a tag bout on Thunder, with the stipulation that whoever scored the pinfall would, inexplicably, win the WCW World title. Arquette ended up pinning Bischoff to become the champion. Yes, that's right, he won his partner's single title by pinning a non-wrestler in a B-Show tag match. Vince Russo, ladies and gentlemen. Russo defends the move to this day, claiming it gave the promotion much-needed column inches and publicity in the national press. That much it did, though the majority were mocking the stupidity of it all, and the damage done far outweighed any flickering glimmers of positivity. To his credit, wrestling fan Arquette knew that the move would be widely panned by fans and critics alike, which it was, and that he had no right holding the prestigious strap. Arquette donated all the money he made from wrestling to Darren Drozdov, who had recently become a quadriplegic after a powerbomb went wrong in the WWF, and the families of the late Owen Hart and Brian Pillman. It was a commendable act of self-aware philanthropy which, unlike WWE when they do charity work, he did not widely publicise. Arquette dropped the title 12 days later in a ridiculous triple-decker cage match at Slamboree 2000 in a three-way match against Page and Jarrett. It was the same stipulation used at the climax of Ready to Rumble. The bout was predictably shoddy, notable only for Canyon making an appearance purely so he could take a dangerous tumble off the top deck of the cage to the ramp. That the fall came a year to the month after Owen Hart died from a Russo-booked stunt gone wrong in the same building made it all the more preposterous. Are there any pay-per-views that WWE owns the rights to which do not feature on the WWE network? It's from Dave Grant. There are several. Mexican group's AAA famous When Worlds Collide pay-per-view was produced by WCW and thus WWE owned the rights to it. For whatever reason, WWE has never aired the show on the network, despite it being widely considered one of the best pay-per-view events of all time. UK exclusive specials, UK Rampage 89, 91 and 92 are yet to make it onto the medium, though the 1993 show, by far the worst of the lot, was uploaded recently as part of the home video classics section, so the others may yet receive the same treatment. WWE's 1998 special Mayhem in Manchester is also missing. The card has never had an official release in full, with the footage only seeing the light of day via a WWE home video release. WWE Experience, a 10-year anniversary celebration of the big events held in 1996, was a glorified house show that was given internet pay-per-view treatment decades before live streaming became a regular part of everyday life. Outside of grainy famcam footage, no official video from the show has ever surfaced. Perhaps mercifully, non-wrestling pay-per-view's Girls Gone Wild live from spring break has not made the cut, presumably down to a rights issue. A similar WCW pay-per-view Nitro Girls swimsuit calendar special is not on the network either. WWE's trio of super shows with New Japan from 1991 to 93 are nowhere to be found. We can assume this has to do with the dispute over who owns the rights, given that the events were co-promoted with New Japan Pro Wrestling. There are a handful of other WCW shows that are yet to be uploaded. Collision in Korea is the most well-known. The 1995 Super Show bore more than a few political similarities to WWE's Greatest Royal Rumble from earlier this year, in this case with the government forcing fans to attend the event. The card was also a co-production with New Japan, which may explain its exclusion. It is certainly unlikely to be missing on moral grounds. There is no good explanation for WCW's Millennium Final internet pay-per-view from Germany to be absent from the list. The special broadcast saw the company crown its first and only European Cup winner in a one-night tournament won by Sting, who beat Kevin Nash in the final. That match is available on the network as part of the Sting collection, proving that WWE does have the footage available. What was the reason Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair did not meet for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 8? After Flair debuted in 1991, that match looked like the obvious headliner for the Supercard. That's from Lee Beckett. At one stage in the planning for the annual extravaganza, Hulk Hogan vs. Ric Flair was very much on the card. It was even announced on television via a staged press conference. The WWF felt the same way the fans do in retrospect. Hogan vs. Flair was a first-time ever dream match for the ages, a battle of the WWF and the NWA WCW. It made all the sense in the world that their showdown would take place on WWF's biggest show of the year. However, a series of trial matches between Hogan and Flair on the house show loop failed to draw in the way WWF officials expected, and the matches themselves were not particularly good. According to legend, during one match between the two industry all-timers at Madison Square Garden, Vince McMahon shook his head and grumbled, "We waited too long." In other words, the match came about several years too late, with neither Hogan nor Flair at the peak of their retrospective drawing powers. Steroid use claims against Hogan were also dragging his and the WWF's name through the mud with a final straw. McMahon changed course, moving Hogan into a program with Sid Justice and placing Flair into a rivalry with Randy Savage. With Hogan readying himself to leave the promotion on an extended hiatus until the heat of the steroid accusations had died down, McMahon had no intention of following through with his plan to put Hogan over Flair clean for the WWF title on the big show. Nor did he want NWA leader for the generation Flair beating WWF Kingpin Hogan, as that would send a message that the WWF was inferior. Hogan and Flair met several times on major shows in the years that followed, mostly in WCW, which played host to their first ever pay-per-view meeting at Bash at the Beach 1994. WWE eventually did have a match between them on television on May 2002 on Raw, when WWE Undisputed Champion Hogan, yes really, beat Flair in a no DQ match.